More than 4 billion people live across this vast continent called Asia, and we are telling their stories. On this edition, On Fire, Bangalore's Bellandur Lake is drying up and catching fire. We visit the place once known as India's City of Lakes to find out why.
I would say this is an irresponsible and unaccepted urbanization. We should immediately intervene and decongest the city.
And back to life. Water is slowly coming back to parts of the Aral Sea after decades of desiccation.
I don't want my children to leave the Aral Sea. I want them to stay and to swim in the Aral Sea.
I'm Michal Bardavid, and this is Assignment Asia. Welcome to the program. The city of Bangalore in India used to be known as a city of lakes with abundant water resources sustaining the lives of its people. But the past decades have seen the city's water bodies dry up or catch fire because of severe pollution, as in the case of Bellandur, one of Bangalore's largest lakes. At the heart of the problem is the unchecked urbanization that has swept the booming metropolis over the years. Jyothi Karat was in Bangalore to explore the extent and investigate the causes of its water crisis.
On the 19th of January 2018, Bellandur Lake, one of the largest lakes in Bangalore, caught fire. It lasted 36 hours, setting off alarm bells in the city. The lake fires of Bangalore are getting bigger each year. It is the 5th time the incident happened in India's IT capital.
One of the day I'm just sitting here and there is a smoke which is very common. Small fires are very common here, but then it turned out to be really unexpected and fumes colors are changing. That's when we know it is really something big. It's not a usual small garbage fire.
Bellandur is one of Bangalore's many suburbs that have been heavily urbanized within the last 2 decades. Housing complexes and commercial buildings replaced farms and wetlands over the years. With buildings choking the banks of Bellandur Lake, some 40% of the city's untreated sewage finds its way into the water. It's a perfect recipe for disaster.
City generates about 1,600 to 1,800 million liters of sewage. This part of it is treated. About 30 to 35% is treated. The remaining comes to the lake. But what we have observed in the lake is almost the water which comes to the lake is a raw sewage. Though they claim that it has been treated, it's not treated, and they are rich in the nitrogen and phosphorus.
According to Dr. T.V. Ramachandra, phosphorus is the main source of the stinking froth that Bellandur Lake is now infamous for. Snowy froth formed from detergents and industrial effluent spilled onto roads nearby, causing skin rashes among residents and even corrosion on automobiles. But a bigger problem was brewing under the water hyacinths that cover a large area of Bellandur Lake. Research by the Institute has shown that when winds churn the lake's water, combustible gases like methane are formed and are trapped under the thick mat of water hyacinth. Even a small cigarette could ignite a fire under these conditions.
We have a Water Act of 1974 which says that those who pollute the water should be punished. The polluter pays principle. Similarly, we have Air Act. But unfortunately, our regulatory agencies are so weak. So that is the root cause of the problem. Your laws may be good, but if the implementing agency is weak and corrupt, you cannot expect the law to do the job. So this is where the citizens have to have the awareness about the laws, and also who are responsible for managing and implementing the norms. They should be aware so that they can question the system.
The lake fires exposed Bangalore's water management problems, a toxic mix of water pollution and shortage. Despite covering an area of about 900 acres, Bellandur Lake's water could not be used by residents in the area to drink. The toxicity has become so high that it could not even be used for agriculture.
అక్కడ బాగుండే నీళ్ళు ముందర బాగా వస్తూ ఉండే నీళ్ళు తాగేకి అన్నిటికీ బాగుండే ఇప్పుడు కచరా అయిపోయాయి బెంగళూరు కచరా నీళ్ళంతా వచ్చి కచరా అయిపోయా ఏం పంట పెట్టినా యాసిడ్ అది ఇది ఏమీ పంట అయితే లేదు అక్కడ వాసన జాస్తి సొల్లులు జాస్తి అక్కడ అక్కపక్కల ఉండేదానికి అయ్యలేదు.
Gopal Reddy is a 70-year-old farmer who once used to live and farm in Bellandur. Driven away by the pollution and water scarcity, he now travels 35 kilometers out of the city to farm every day. Gopal and many other farmers of his generation chose to continue farming even if it meant leaving their villages. But Gopal's son, Harish, had to venture into a new business that was slowly thriving in the city, supplying water.
ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಮಾರು ಒಂದು ನಾವು ಮೊದಲು ಹಾಕಿದ್ದು ನಾವು 600 ಅಡಿ ಹಾಕಿದ್ವಿ, ನೀರು ಬಂದಿತ್ತು ಸುಮಾರು ಒಂದು 15 years ಬ್ಯಾಕ್. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀರು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಆದರೆ ಇವಾಗೆಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗಳು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮತ್ತೆ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಇಂಟೆಲ್ ಆಫೀಸ್ಗಳು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ನೀರಿಲ್ಲ. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಈಗ ಅವ್ರಿಗೇನು ಅಂತ ನೀರು ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನೇ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಈಗ 2 ಬೋರ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ 2 ಬೋರ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಆ ಬೋರ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ 1100 ಅಡಿ ಹಾಕಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ನೀರು ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ.
Harish Reddy now lives away from Bellandur and caters to the ever-increasing demand for clean water to the apartments in his new locality. The residents around Bellandur, however, have no such options. Water tests show even the region's groundwater is contaminated.
This water goes to many apartments because a lot of places still do not have water provided by government and they rely on these trucks, water tankers. There is no other option. So people have to drink, and summer has just started. Summer it becomes really, really bad. So people have to go to what is available, even though heavy metals are found and a lot of other issues are there.
Some residents blame Bangalore's worsening water crisis and the sorry state of the lake on migrant workers who illegally set up shanties on lake beds. But the environmental lawyer and activist Abhairaj Naik says it's the fault of poor urban planning.
While you might say that the person who's living under the urban flyover is a nuisance or an encroacher, the person who's encroaching on a lake bed is a illegal crime committing person, I would argue that one needs to see where they are coming from and why they are there. They're usually moving from another injustice to try and make a new life here. And if you actually think of the state as someone that takes care of its people, these people haven't been taken care of. So it's wrong to treat them as criminals in that sense.
The problem of lakebed encroachment by poor migrants pales in comparison to that by powerful construction companies and government agencies. A special investigative committee led by legislator K.B. Kolivat found that large-scale encroachment has led to the disappearance of Bangalore's lakes and the current water crisis.
4,000 acres of lake has been encroached by the government agencies. About 11,000 acres of lake has been encroached by the private agencies and constructed both residential and commercial buildings.
After the release of Kolivat's report, the government demolished a few buildings. But critics pointed out that not a single building owned by a large conglomerate was touched. Until date, nobody encroaching on the lake has been arrested. Despite our repeated requests, state authorities refused to comment on this story. While the government has failed to tackle pollution in Bellandur Lake and the fires that result from it, they built a $1 million pipeline to redirect polluted water to 70 lakes in the countryside. People are now concerned the pipeline might end up polluting water bodies in the countryside while drying up what remains of Bellandur Lake.
I would say this is an irresponsible and unaccepted urbanization. We should immediately intervene and decongest the city. Otherwise, the city will die. So as per my estimate, the 2020 or 2025, the city Bangalore is going to die.
What you're seeing is a criminal dereliction of duty where the state as trustee is abandoning priceless natural resources that belong to all of us, that should have been preserved for all of us by the state, is just being given away to a whole bunch of different people. So if the actual stability, integrity, the resilience, the very existence of the ecosystem cannot be protected, our concerns about purity and pristineness, I think, are meaningless.
Bangalore, which used to be called the City of Lakes, has lost over 700 lakes to encroachment in less than 4 decades. While older residents like Gopal fondly remember a time when Bangalore was beautiful and pristine, younger generations of this booming metropolis hope there's still a chance to turn things around. For Assignment Asia, I'm Jyothi Karat in Bangalore, India.
Some groups in Bangalore have started cooperating with the city government to save its lakes and help solve its water crisis. One project to manage the flow of sewage and to de-silt Aral Lake has led to its gradual revival. Up next, the northern Aral Sea in Kazakhstan springs back to life. The Aral Sea was the world's 4th largest lake until a massive irrigation project in the 1960s diverted its water elsewhere, causing it to dry up. But its northern part has started to come back to life thanks to large-scale restoration projects. I visited the town of Aralsk, where residents are seeing signs of hope as water slowly starts to fill the lake again. Amid the silence of the Aral Sea's coast in Kazakhstan, Badarkhan Aysarov prepares to go out fishing in his small, rusty boat. It's a way of life that Badarkhan inherited from his ancestors. He lives in a small town close to the water where he takes care of his parents and 5 children.
Таңертең 5-те тұрамыз ғой үйден. Одан шығамыз, келеміз осы араға жағаға жиекке, теңіздің басына. Теңіздің басына келіп 5-7-лерде шығып, қайықпен кетіп бара жатып, ау қараймыз. Ауымыз қарап келіп, балымызды тапсырамыз да, сосын үйге барып дем аламыз, обедте. Обедті ішіп алып, түстен кейін сосын кісіге кешкілік қайтып ау салуға келеміз. Ау саламыз, кешкін шығамыз да қайтамыз үйге. Күнделікті қайталанатын расписание ғой сол, өзгермейді басқа ештеңе.
Ол балықты қайда апарасыз?
Балықты осы жерге жиекке жаңа осы теңізді егелері болады, басшылары. Солар қабылдайды келіп балық тапсырамыз.
Despite the difficulties, residents of the Aral district are grateful to at least be able to fish. It wasn't always this way, and many here still remember the painful past. The Aral Sea was the site of one of the world's worst man-made disasters. In the 1960s, the government of what was then the Soviet Union diverted water from the Sirdarya and Amudarya rivers to irrigate farmlands for cotton cultivation. That resulted in the shrinking of the Aral Sea.
Тартыла бастады. Бұрын енді Арал қаласы портты қала болған. Бірнеше өндіріс орындары болған. Сонымен қатар мал шаруашылығымен шұғылданған аудан. Теңіздің қайтуы әрине Арал қаласынан 100 шақырымнан жоғары шақырымға дейін жер құрғап, теңіздің бұрынғы табандары шаң топырақтарға айналды.
What used to be the world's 4th largest lake turned into a graveyard for ships. and stayed that way for decades despite attempts by 5 Central Asian states to restore it. When the sea dried here, it was devastating for the fishermen who were forced to either drive for over 90 kilometers to reach the coast, move to a different city, or learn a new skill to find employment. At its peak, the Aral Sea was abundant in fish, and the cities around it depended on it for their livelihood. Akmaral Utumisova, a tour guide and researcher in Aralsk, recalls the days when the city was home to a thriving fishing community.
Yeah, it was very lively. People, they don't stop all fishing activities. Children, they were swimming over here, and it was very nice place. People come after their jobs, after their works, to relax here and to swim.
When the lake dried up, fishing communities suffered and people lost their livelihood.
They couldn't go to another countries because their families still stay here. And they couldn't do animal breeding because they have no experience. In their hut, all the time they felt sorry.
But the consequences weren't just economic. Health problems began to arise as well.
Тартылғаннан кейін мынау экологиялық апат аймағы деп аталды. Әрине бұл енді мынау қорғаған теңізден шаң тозаңдар ауаға көтеріліп, қоршаған ортаны ластап, мынау жас өспірім балдардың арасында және де мынау екі босанар кезде әйел азаматтарымыздың да босанған сәбилердің арасында көптеген ауру балдар дүниеге келді.
So it's a very difficult situation when you live in Aral and you breathe the salt and the dust all the time.
The disaster caught global attention, prompting the World Bank to finance the construction of the Kokoral Dam with the support of the Kazakh government. The dam was completed in 2005 as part of an $86 million project. The dam restored water levels in a part of the lake known as the northern Aral Sea.
Енді біртіндеп басталды ғой енді. Су көбейді, су көбейгеннен кейін уже балықтың түрлері де көбейе бастады. Неше түрлі жаңағы.
Қанша жылдың ішінде?
5-6 жылдың көлемінде жақсарту.
NGOs also helped draw back local fishermen by improving the fishing production system and quality of life in Aralsk.
Не қайтса, не қаламыз дейді? Проекті жөнде ме? Проекті. Біз GZF проектісін жүргіздік. Ол проекті де сол теңіздің жағасындағы халықтың, балықшылардың семьяларын жақсарту бағытында жұмыс жасадық. Оларға жаңағы теңізден ауланған балық мына қалаға алып келгенге дейін бұзылмас үшін сол жерлерден жаңағы рыбоприемный станциялар салып бердік, жасап бердік. Үлкен крупный точкаларға теңіздің жағасынан холодильниктер, сосын олардың перевозкасын неге қылдық, жөндедік. Специалистер қаржыландырдық. Өйткені всемирный банк арқылы жаңағы проект қаржыланды ғой. Онда жаңағы оқыту, үйрету жұмыстары болды. Сосын связьден қамтамасыз ету жағы болды. Сосын сол балықшы ауылдардағы медпункт, детсад, сондайларды қайтадан қалпына келтіру бағытында жұмыстар жасадық.
It may not have returned to its glory days, but the Aral Sea is once again giving residents like Baturkan a source of living.
Дамбыны соны көкара бөгет дамбы құрғаннан кейін, бекіткеннен кейін су уже келді ғой, бермен су келді. Енді Құдай қаласа осы екінші несін жасайын отыр.
But challenges remain, such as the risk of overfishing.
So the fish supply is decreasing constantly, and the scientists are worried, and they started their work to research the Aral Sea, the stock of fish, types of fish, and they are going to educate the fishermen not to catch all the fish, to catch big size of fish.
The World Bank is working on building a second dam, this time to bring back water to the port of Aralsk and fully restore the North Aral Sea. Many living around the Aral Sea are hopeful about the future.
I don't want my children to leave the Aral Sea. I want them to stay and to swim in the Aral Sea, maybe to catch fish, to eat in a restaurant and to relax in Aral Hotel. I wish my children all the best.
It's a future the people of Aralsk want their children and future generations to enjoy, as the Aral Sea slowly comes back to life. Even though Kazakhstan has successfully stemmed desiccation in its part of the Aral, the section belonging to Uzbekistan continues to dry up. Recently, large parts of western Uzbekistan and northern Turkmenistan were blanketed by a severe salt storm, damaging livestock and agriculture. It's yet another sign that greater concerted efforts need to be taken by Central Asian countries to prevent yet another environmental tragedy. That's all the time we have for this week. I'm Michal Bardavid in Antalya. Thanks for watching, and join us again on Assignment Asia. Share your thoughts and contribute story ideas for future shows by contacting us on social media.